baby.
Hands up, baby. Hands up.
I swear, if a certain quarterback is mentioned in the comments, I got my beers ready. I'm going to crack it open.
Or is it the Serbian kid?
Serbia kid, This was done. Oh my god, it looks fantastic.
I hate you so much. Get these man. Not a piece man. Woo! I'm the man. I said it, and it's reality. All right.
Congratulations.
What is going on, folks? You have our co-host here, Mr. Bret Legassi, and Dave Stager and myself. Hope you're doing well tonight. Hit that like and subscribe button if it's your first time here. If you're here and you haven't done already, good, do it now. But
Amazing,
Bret, how you
Evan.
doing tonight?
Amazing. I'm good. And Evan, the train ride was amazing. Actually, it was really cool. It was awesome. I'll definitely be.
You and Evan want to have a conversation or what?
Yeah, that's cool. No, and Evan said.
I just gotta give him crap.
So he said, "Crack it open," and I mean, I've already cracked it open after his comment that we should sing "Happy Birthday" for our favorite quarterback. It was already open. That was it. I'm already halfway done.
Wait, sing. Whose birthday is it?
Tua.
Oh, well, the only song I'm
Happy birthday.
No,
to
the only
you.
song I'm singing him is "Oh Hey, You're Released or Traded By." So, sorry, fins down, folks. Green Bay Packers fan here. Woo!
I actually heard the Packers are interested in trading for Tua. I've heard this.
No, they are not. They actually were. Miami was a possible connection for Rodgers by backup quarterback Kurt Baker that came out. Tua was not part of that deal. It would have been 51. Would have been someone like Javon Holland in a first round 2024, I think. But Tua, no.
But see,
Get out of here.
Miami has no picks, so we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. But
That's why we take the Javon Holland and they just call it.
Yeah. I mean,
Or Christian Wilkins. Look, Christian Wilkins, Aaron Rodgers in the second, call it a day.
You know, it actually, man, Dolphin fans are gonna be like, "Oh, I gotta hit you." I would actually probably rather trade Wilkins than Holland because I feel like the safety makes a little bit more of an impact than defensive tackle, and I love Wilkins. He's such a beast, but I mean, he's a beast in a run game versus.
I don't think he goes to Miami either way. I think
I don't think so.
Come out and said Tua's our quarterback. What 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times now. So, anyways, hello everyone here. Anthony, Evan, JM. I believe I saw was Steve in here yet or no? I haven't seen Steve yet, but no, glad to have you here, guys. NFL Combine started today. The workout started. Ton of trade talks still going on. And everyone's focusing on the QBs. Lamar Jackson possibly reported to Miami. But there's another one that's kind of being floated around. And it kind of shocked me a little bit. But I went and checked the cap numbers. The new team would take on maybe, I think, $10 million at most. Or I think it was $9 or $10 million. Derrick Henry is a target right now. And the way the running back class is for free agents, and then you see Derrick Henry as a trade – he might be able to get something to swing. It's not. I don't think he's going to get moved for a first rounder if he does. So, what do you think, Bret?
Oh man,
There's Josh. What's up, buddy?
Man, it is tough because this is a terrible year for trying to get rid of Derrick Henry because you had teams have a bad time of letting go at the wrong times, and it is hard to judge. This draft is loaded with running backs. Free agency has a lot of running backs. But the thing is, you just saw Christian McCaffrey kind of reset the market a little bit, get that trade. And that's normally a team that doesn't do that. And you don't pay running backs, and you don't sign running backs or trade for running backs or draft them high unless they are an impact player. Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, at the time, Ezekiel Elliott. Those guys are impact players. Saquon Barkley, although he's had trouble staying healthy, they go early in the draft because they're an impact player. So every time when people say, like, well, they're not running backs go late. No, well, if they're an impact player, someone who can make a difference immediately, sometimes they'll go early. And it is a devalued position a little bit. And stop looking at the whole of the last running backs that were on Super Bowl winning team, whatever, because half of those Super Bowls were Tom Brady anyway. So you remove the elite quarterbacks from that, and lo and behold, they had a really good running back, Marshawn Lynch. So, look how valuable Marshawn Lynch was to Seattle. And so
it was literally a Super Bowl title, and it would have been a second if Pete Carroll wasn't a dummy.
And remember, the Bills, they traded him to Seattle. So, and he was a big face of their team for a long time. So, trading for Derrick Henry for a team that's right on the cusp, I hate to say this, but the Bills would make a ton of sense. The
Bills would be a dangerous team, especially with the cold and Derrick Henry. He's got the experience playing in Tennessee. Man, literally you just give him the load. Josh Allen hit the play action passes, roll out on some bootlegs.
Do you remember when LeGarrette Blount went to the Patriots, Corey Dillon to the Patriots? It helped them a lot. So just getting a running back that can help your offense, even if it's not like a huge guy. So I still think Derrick Henry could be moved. I don't know what the
guy. He need to grow a manly beard like Shamigos, Bobby, Bret, and Dave. He can. He's Canadian.
But
Canadians can't grow beards.
I think it may be more of a second. I don't think they'll get a first round pick. Maybe like a bottom of the first during the draft. But this is the time to move on from Derrick Henry. This is as high as his value is going to be. It was higher to me last year, so this is as high as it needs to be. And but Josh, just to throw it out there, you're saying bring him to Dallas. I mean, Zeke Elliott could be moved if that were the case. I mean, that could be a domino effect. And
Pollard's hurt. We didn't expect that to happen. So,
and then you got Pollard. What's going to happen with him after the injury? That kind of makes things a little murky there. Does somebody take a risk and sign him? Does Dallas basically wait it? Do teams wait it out to see how his injury progresses, then sign him? So that's going to be interesting too. It's a really interesting offseason for running backs, for teams that need running back.
All right. Well, guess what? We're going to do it right now. Surprise, on the fly, trade predictions. What time to wake up, Mr. Legacy?
Oh, God. Hang on.
Some of that sour drink in your eyes and let's do some
some war goose. Okay.
All right. Right now, quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, where's he go?
Ooh.
Without pulling on your heartstrings.
Without pulling on my heartstrings. Who's got assets? I mean, I feel like the Jets had the most assets, but I don't know that they go after them as hard. I still feel like they go after Rodgers harder, but I think Atlanta.
You think Atlanta's when they took Desmond Ridder and they're waiting to see what they have?
I don't know that there's that sold on Desmond Ridder. They took him in the second round? So I don't know.
No, I think it was a third round. But the thing is, they let him sit. Mariota crapped him his pants just like he was always gonna, and we saw him come in, and now they're doing the whole Washington thing. They said, "Oh, Desmond Ridder's our starter," but then they kind of re-announced it. And that's what Washington's doing with Huddle. It's another team. That's kind of my wild card for Lamar because Bieniemy has full control of the offense. You have Ron Rivera's defense. He's not going to step in and really give his scheme and layout and everything like Reed did over Bieniemy. Bieniemy's going to have his true shot. Why not go out and get Lamar? And I've already seen reports that they could go out and trade for Rodgers and give up 2 firsts. Why not go do it for a younger QB, have more years underneath your belt? And it's out of conference, so it wouldn't cost as much.
Definitely saying out of conference. Definitely think it's out of conference. I think if the Ravens have their say in their pick.
And they're local to each other. Washington's right next door to them.
It's true. I think they will trade out of conference. So for some reason, I was told before that Atlanta was interested in Jackson and they're watching it. They think he's a good fit for their offense. So I don't know.
I'm going to go ahead and I'll do it for you. I think Lamar gets traded to Miami because all this Baltimore stuff goes with the stuff with Rashad Bateman. We'll jump into that a little bit later, but them calling out the owner and then now Mark Davis is calling out the training staff and a ton of these players are speaking out. The only one that's kind of steadying the ship is Calais Campbell on NFL Network today.
Yeah, and that's because he's a veteran.
Yeah, he's that locker room leader. He's going to stabilize the ship and make sure it's not rocking. But these young guys, even Mark Davis being an older guy, he's upset. So now the fact that, we're going to talk about this too later on as well, the training staffs of the NFL having a problem of not taking care of players and such, and we'll dive into that. But with that situation, to me, if all of your players are speaking out as teammates, why would I want to go back there? So I think Lamar with
Bateman's
Miami,
comments even stuck up for Lamar. You're always blaming instead of blaming the players in number 8. So
yeah, and he did that, mention the number 8. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I think he goes to Miami. I think Tua gets swapped to Baltimore. Maybe a swirl of picks go in there as well. Maybe a player or something like that on top of it from either team. I just to get it done, because the fact that we've said it, Miami's had to announce Tua how many times is your starter, 3, 4, 5. Like it doesn't stop. So Ross is old. We said it last week. He wants to see a championship now. Lamar gives you that better shot. I don't think Rodgers goes to Miami. That was a backup QB saying that crap, so it's not going to happen. But I will say that I do think Lamar has a good shot at going there. Derek Carr's not going to Miami. He's been interviewed by every team, but he's not getting signed, so that says something.
Well, so I think everybody's going to wait to see what's out there is better. So they're going to wait to see if they can get Rodgers or Jackson or the better options. For the thing with Jackson that makes it interesting is technically he's a free agent. Right. So they haven't tagged him yet. And obviously they're still trying to work on something. So if they tag him,
got 13 days still of free agency right now, but if they don't tag him. So
if they tag him, I don't know how that works for trades. Like, does he get say? Does he get to refuse?
Devontae was in that situation. Green Bay tagged him after they franchised him and then was able to trade him, but you can't include other players in the trade because Packers tried getting Waller back, but since he wasn't tagged, basically the only players that can get traded are tagged players.
Right, yeah. So what's going to end up happening is he's going to get tagged, and then it changes so Miami doesn't have the picks to make the trade. Now, if they don't tag him, then he could obviously go wherever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
But they're going to tag him. They're not going to let him walk because they're not stupid. And if they don't tag him and he signs, would they be one of the no, I guess the highest you can get is a third round for a compensatory, huh?
Yep. If someone walks and pays them, doesn't matter how high it is, it's a third round.
They might get the highest compensatory.
Might be like the first overall pick in the third round ever for it, but that's my pick. I think Lamar does go to Miami in that trade for the prediction. Moving on. Now, we just talked about it, but I want to see where you pick him. Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. Who's going to see going Derrick Henry? God, the Bills. I mean, I can see the Bills doing it. Like, what do they need? Yeah. They need a run game. It works. That's how I see it. I think that could work. I think it's a perfect fit because it's exactly what they need. Even if it's like a buy-in for this year, I think it works.
Now, I got a surprise team, and it's something they've been building. They've got a lot of young pieces around there, and they smidge away from making the playoffs, and they need running game. Why not Detroit Lions?
There you go. Well, they have a run game. But
Jamal Williams is a free agent.
Yeah, Jamal Williams is gone, and Swift is banged up a lot.
Fiberglass.
And I'm sure they would love Derrick Henry in that. I mean, that also allows DeAndre Swift to kind of go to his third down back role.
The full scat back.
Yeah, let him be an athlete like he is, like kind of like how the Cowboys were using Pollard with Elliott. It's like a perfect combination. That's a good one too.
And there's no elements of cold. He gets at least 9 home games in the dome. Plus, you're playing in Minnesota, so there's more.
Different conference, right? They trade him out of conference. That can make a lot of sense. How about the guy who coached him before? How about Atlanta as another? I'm saying
Tyler Algier has shown a lot of stuff, and I don't know if they're ready to move on from him.
I don't think they should because I said this before. Tyler Algier's tape when I was watching him, I felt he was a perfect fit for a wide zone, which is what Arthur Smith runs, and I was like, he runs a lot of the variations of what the Shanahan's run. And I looked at him for Miami, and I'm like, that would be a good fit. And then when he went to Atlanta, I was like, oh, that is a great fit. That's perfect for what they want to run.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him going there, kind of going back near his stomping grounds because he played at Alabama, so it's right next door. So he gets to go play in a dome again, and same thing with Detroit. But you're not even worrying about the cold up there. Everything's down south and the NFC South. It's a very attainable division because nothing else has had that. So
And you got Green Bay who could run the hell out of the ball. Like, so, Green Bay can run the football. Bears have a good running back. So the Bears, they have a good run game with Fields too. So every team can run the football. Of course, Minnesota did have Dalvin Cook, but we don't know what's going to happen with him, where he's getting traded. So, but no, it's
go ahead.
Well, what's he saying?
Anthony had a question. He said, Bret and Dave, this is a question about free agency. Would you rather have the two young combinations of either Tremaine Edmonds as his brother or Tremaine Edmonds and Jesse Bates, or at a cheaper price you get Levante David and Bobby Wagner with Jordan Poyer? Give me Tremaine Edmonds and Jesse Bates all day long. Young players, they're all pros.
Tremaine Edmonds is a stud linebacker. Absolutely.
Loved him out of Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
He went to the Bills. And then Jesse Bates is a very good safety. Just does everything well. He's one of those guys that's like all pro level, but made it never. I don't know if I'm not going to say never, but like not Hall of Fame level, not a household name, but he does. He's a fantastic player. I would take him all day.
And it's not a shot at Levante David or Bobby Wagner, but
they're aging
so much younger. Yeah,
I would take Edmonds because he's younger, and then I like Jordan Poyer, but Jesse Bates
he's 31.
Yeah, and how old's Bates? 27, 28. So I'll take him.
26 going on 27 this year, I believe.
There you go. And he's coming off a franchise tag. He's played in a good defense, and he's the leader, one of the leaders of that defense. And he makes the corners job easy. He gets a communication.
Oh yeah.
I would take him all day, especially in Miami next to Holland. Oh, yeah, I'll take that duo all day.
Now, I know we were doing trade predictions, but I'll do a couple free agents, and I'll go ahead and say this. Derek Carr, where do you think he goes? Because he's had 2 visits with the Jets, 1 with the Panthers, but no one signed him. And when he comes out and says, I just want to visit all the teams and make sure I have my options open, that's called I'm not getting what I want offered. That's what a coach is to me.
Well, I don't know what I don't know that's what it is. See, Derek Carr has been with, you got to remember, he's been with the Cars. He's been with the Raiders for his entire career. So he's been with a mess. You know what I mean? Like the whole situation there has always been a mess. Kind of like Stafford with the Lions. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying he's as good as Stafford, but it's a similar situation. I want to say like the Saints wasn't a good fit. I want to say the Jets are probably one of the better fits. Carolina might be a better fit, but I also think Carolina might go Wentz. Looking at teams that might need a quarterback that are kind of like a win now, I still think the Jets and Panthers probably make the most sense. Or, shot in the dark here, the Buccaneers.
They need a quarterback. Kyle Trask is not the answer.
Sorry, Josh.
Eat your heart out.
But no, I think
I
think the NFC 3 teams in NFC South are ones that made the most sense. But I think the Panthers and Buccaneers probably make the most sense for him. They're 2 teams that need quarterback. And if you look at the Raiders roster or the Buccaneers roster, they have talent. They have good receivers. I don't know which ones will be retained, but they have depth at receiver, and they still have Evans, who's just been a quietly good beast this entire time. So the offensive line needs work, but they have a good nucleus in that team. I think it would be a good fit.
I looked at their cap situation, and they can restructure 8 or 9 players right now to push money and prorate it along the next couple of years and be under the cap by 25 to 30 million and retain all their players. The only one they had to cut was Cameron Brate. And because of the fact he's been injured so much and hasn't kept up his bargain for that. So I just don't see I don't see the Bucs getting rid of all these players that everyone thinks is going to happen. They're not. They can just restructure everyone.
No, so look, here's the deal. With that,
Anthony Mazzano, they're not trading Mike Evans, buddy. They already announced he's staying. They're not.
Yeah, he Mike Evans ain't going nowhere. He's the face of their team.
And Godwin, right, both of them are. They've already announced both of them are staying.
Yeah. So I don't think the whole cap situation is fluent. They kick the can down the road is all they're doing, and they're rearranging the money and all that stuff, and they're turning it to bonuses. And if the CBA passes. And just know this, it's not in the players' favor. The players have to fight and claw for everything for the CBA to pass. So when you see the cap space situation, the teams aren't really fretting too much because they build it to maneuver it. It's just rules to make it look like it's to kind of tighten it up a little bit so you can't just spend like baseball. That's all it is.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is everyone tries to say, "Oh, the cap is a myth," folks. I'll say this: no, GMs and the financial executives are so good at getting under the cap, but it rarely happens. But there has been cap penalties for not getting underneath the cap in time. The Vikings have done it. The Saints have done it.
Yep.
And they've gotten dinged for like 7th or 5th rounders at most, but they still got penalized, which shows the cap's real. Most GMs and financial executives are just that good. Appreciate it, King DTA. Appreciate it, man. Love the love. But yes, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Again, I know I said at the beginning of the show, but folks, if you're here, we're going to be here every Thursday, every evening for that. Got a big guest next week, so keep in mind to check out next week as well. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into what's grinding Bret's gears. The whole training staff, the medical.
Ooh.
I want to hear what is going on and why. We kind of touched on it earlier a little bit with the Ravens kind of shutting out a little bit. I want to hear what is going on and why this is bothering you so much, Bret.
Because I think there's a lot of misinformation going around right now. I really do. Honestly, the older I get, the more I realize that the NFL owners are just all about the money. Obviously, they're all about the money. But I think one of the craziest things is when I went to school I was trying to be a scout, but I went for sports management, which you learn a lot of stuff. And talking to teachers that worked at the college level, with scouts with the NFL level, you start to realize things that you didn't know before. You start looking at things a little different. And like, let's take Tua's concussion, for example. He hurt his back. The doctors knew damn well he had a concussion. The doctors are educated enough. Well, Ryan, what's up, man? Biggest Zach Thomas fan I've ever met in my life. I went to high school with him. Huge Zach Thomas fan. But no, he went that whole situation. He goes back into the game Thursday. Not even a week later, gets concussed, and it was ugly. That was scary. So, like, you're looking at it, well, like, what happens if they diagnose him with a concussion against the Bills? He sat the rest of the game. Yeah, they lose the game, okay, but he doesn't get that concussion Thursday night. Maybe he sits out Thursday night.
Changes the trajectory of the Dolphins' future completely.
And then pay attention to fans, and fans are like, oh, why? So we could lose the game? Oh, yeah, screw his health, and now you're pretending like his health doesn't matter. Like, what the hell? So then now you have him. Maybe he doesn't get concussed against Green Bay, and maybe he finishes the season, and maybe the Dolphins actually have him in the playoffs, and maybe he gets his revenge against the Bills, and they get the first win against the Bills in the playoffs. You don't know. You know what I mean? Like, so looking at the whole thing, like, they're not doing their job. And then you see all these players getting hurt, and then Byron Jones comes out saying he can't run, he can't jump. He's saying don't take the pill or the injections. Emmanuel Acho just had on his TikTok. He talked about the pill. He said he took something that's basically like a fistful of ibuprofen, which is terrible for your liver to take it once, and you feel like so much better. And like it's basically hides the pain. Your body doesn't even know it's in pain to play through it. And he said that it was a player unnamed. He said he felt a pop, and I forgot what he said. They thought it was like a strain, and then he said, take me to a trainer because the player had told him what they say. It was a strain or a sprain or whatever. Go see the doctor right away. Because that player, they said he felt a pop in his stomach. He thought like it was just the abdomen popped the muscle. Nope. He finished the game, goes to the doctor, gets an MRI and all. Looks like his inside exploded. So he had like a bunch of damage to his stomach muscles. All because it was just kind of like, here, if we're going to hop you up, put you back out there. And then Jones is saying, don't take the injections like in the pills. That's a red flag to me. And I don't know that these doctors it's not that they don't know better. It might be just because they're being pushed to do something, to push to go. And
these owners risky. Want fans in the seats. So that's players playing.
Right. And these doctors are getting paid handsomely from these owners, and it's hard to not do that. But and now you look at the Ravens situation. It all started with Bateman calling out the owner with not using the players, right? Because the owner was asked about not having luck with receivers, and he said he's going to keep drafting receivers till he has one. Bateman's a good receiver, but the owner's right. They haven't drafted an all-pro. Now he's mad about that. But then all of a sudden was Mark Andrews started to talk about the training staff and Lamar Jackson being injured. And it seemed like there was a little bit of slight that Lamar Jackson didn't want to re-injure himself, so he stayed out. And I think the training staff was trying to push him back out there, and he didn't feel. He listened to his body, and I don't want to. This is my payday. Like, I'm on my 5th-year option. Like after this, I'm a free agent. I get hurt. I saw it happen to RG3. I go out there for you and get hurt. My career is over. Like, so you have to be selfish. RG3 went back out there and he got hurt. Ryan Tannehill would try to do the stem cell and all that. I don't know. I think he got pushed into that instead of getting surgery. So his recovery time would be shorter.
Trying to be the poster boy of it, basically trying to.
Right. And then all of a sudden he comes back and re-injures that knee and they try to say it was a separate knee injury. That was a red flag for me. When they said Ryan Tannehill's knee was a separate knee injury, I'm like, no, he tore the same ligament. How's it a separate knee injury? Oh, the ligament was healed. There's no way the ligament healed from week 15, 16 of that season to training camp. There's no way that ligament healed that fast. I'm not a doctor, but that's.
So you mentioned, what's up, Papa Hog? Appreciate you for showing up. You know what? And you mentioned Washington earlier. I was just about to say, Trent Williams situation. That was a whole nother fiasco. Remember?
Oh boy.
They found a benign tumor in the back of his head. Didn't tell him, and were trying to let him play with it. He actually had to find out because someone told him, like, dude, you got a lump on your head.
Yeah.
And he goes, what?
One of his teammates said, like, one of his teammates noticed it before, and then they saw it getting bigger. And he said, dude, you might want to get that looked at because it looks like it was like
CAT scan. It was a benign tumor.
Yeah, and like I was in the military. Like
Schneider, but
you
Schneider
see that like
the crap. That just
dude, you got a little knot.
A continuous cycle.
Yeah, like I'm in the military. That happened. Like you make fun of each other for it. Actually, dude, a week ago that wasn't as big. Look how big you want to get that shit looked at, and they knew, but he doesn't care. Schneider doesn't care. He's a bad human. Like that's what call it as I see it.
He's forced to sell the team currently, guys, because he's such a piece of crap owner. Like
I'm sure
assaulting his.
And I'm sure if he ever heard this, he'd probably blow his nose on $100 bill, whatever. But like,
I don't care. He's still a piece of crap.
Right, exactly. So like, I really don't feel bad saying that about it. I just don't. I'm not saying all the owners are, but there's a lot of stuff that's happening in this league, and this is just the beginning. Michael Thomas liked a tweet. I think he liked it or commented, but either way. He
commented and deleted a reply he put out, I believe.
And it was basically saying like the medical doctors don't have to barely be educated. Well, I don't think that's the case. It's also like the training staff that saved Damar Hamlin. Hats off to them for knowing to do CPR and all that stuff right away. It's great. But at the same time, they know how to do their job. So I'm sure they're educated just fine. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't feel like there's, look around the league at the injuries, the guys playing through injuries. Bret Favre, everybody talks bad about him. I get it. Was addicted to Vicodin, addicted to painkillers because he would hop them up. Stuff keeps jogging my memory. Kyle Turley talked about he couldn't smoke weed through the season to relieve pain. And I know we all know someone that has pain that does that kind of stuff. And it helps relieve some of the pain and relaxes the muscle so you can chill. They wouldn't do that, but they give you Vicodin that destroys your liver. So it's like you're cool with getting me hopped up on painkillers. Then you see there's stories that they kind of did away with. There's an old NFL player who was hopped up on painkillers, who was addicted to painkillers, who lived in a trailer, had nothing left in his money because it like a Scott Hall situation where he became a drug addict and had to get off drugs just because he was in pain all the time. Like, it's just ridiculous. And they only played in the league for a couple of years and they didn't have insurance after that. Now the league's taking care of them because now they don't. Every time something like this happens, the league tries to sweep it under the rug. The concussion thing happened. A former, I want to say he played for the Eagles, a former safety in the league, medical malpractice sued the league. Hell, Tyrod Taylor, he might as well take advantage of it because that was medical malpractice. He
had a punctured lung.
Yeah, and
from his doctor. The
way these NFL contracts are structured, Tyrod Taylor was the stopgap. So I'm sure in his contract, hey, here's money, for every start you get. And then when they got Justin Herbert, I think they wanted to see what Herbert had. I'm not saying they did it on purpose, but that lost him money. So,
big time.
Tyrod Taylor lost money. I'm not saying the owner told him to do it, but if it were to come out 10 years from now and the owner said, yeah, I told the doctor to screw that up, which I doubt, but I wouldn't be shocked. I'm like, oh my God, oh no, that actually happened. That doesn't surprise me, just to get the rookie out there so they could pay the rookie deal versus paying him the money for every start he gets as a veteran. So they can pay him the minimum of his contract, not the escalators in his contract. So I don't know. There's just a lot of nonsense out there. And I don't blame these players for dude, I'm hurt. I'm not playing.
Surprisingly, LA players are hurt a lot. Just
saying. Well, yeah. I'm just like, the injuries are legit. They're not fake injuries.
Tip of the iceberg right here. This is a big issue, and it's going to get worse. The NFLPA is probably going to suggest a lockout and other stuff down the road. I can just see this getting so messy here in the next couple of years.
Oh yeah, and the injuries are only getting worse. Like I think training camp's making it worse. And the reason I say that is the idea was to make it easier on their bodies, but they're not getting the conditioning in camp that they need, and they're getting banged up once they get into the season. So they're going to have to make some changes there again. I'm not saying go back to 2 days, but I'm saying maybe mix it up a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have no problem adding a little bit more physicalness to the training camp. That's not my issue. I don't see a problem with that. The thing now, what you said, they're not used to the physical contact by that time. Week 1, after the preseason goes, you're full bore. Yeah, you're not used to that. You're going to go into the next gear without training for it. Even though that's weird. Training camp is the thing supposed to train you for regular season, but it doesn't do it.
You practice for what? Yeah, your practice needs to be your reality. It needs to be harder than your reality.
What is it? 3 to 5 padded practices through the whole training camp?
Yeah, remember it used to be 2 days. I mean, I'm not saying it needs to go back to that, but I mean, if you're going to put guys in pads to hit each other,
the
bodies aren't ready for that. Like, they're going to have to try to take hits. Now, that's where quarterbacks used to, that's why they always protected them, because, they're not taking hits all training camp. Then they're taking hits in the game, and it's like, damn, dude. So you got to, they have to get themselves ready. But, as far as everybody else, offensive line, linebackers, running backs, these guys hit all the time. When they're doing 7-on-7, 7-on-7, offensive linemen are hitting sleds, defensive linemen are doing bag drills. You know what I mean? They're hitting each other, and then they get all pissed off. And in the preseason, they're finally excited to hit somebody else, instead of each other.
Skirmishes start happening.
Yeah, I love it. So, but yeah, they need to mix it up a little bit more, and they need to do the training better. I think more research needs to be done into the training. And
definitely.
Who knows what they put in their diet? Right now, it's a legal steroid. Steroids are only illegal because they haven't found any issues with these yet. You know what I mean? Like, the steroids that are illegal were already illegal, but some of them that are like, oh yeah, that's banned too now, because we weren't giving players that, then they started having health problems from it. So we're gonna go ahead and ban it now. So
the NFL basically drug tested players, and then they're like, oh crap, that's bad. We got to add that to the list after giving it to the players.
All right, so what we got? Anthony, I got a couple questions for us. Want to be hesitant offering this kid an extension. I'm assuming he's talking about Tua with the injury, concussion.
Tua doesn't do the extension.
I wouldn't. I
don't get it.
I wouldn't even touch an extension. I wouldn't even touch a 5th-year option unless you could trade him on that option. I wouldn't touch it. And then he's not worth $245 million. That type of contract's only reserved for the type of contract that Lamar Jackson's asking for. He's asking for Deshaun Watson money, and I'm sorry, but that reset the market along with Russell Wilson, just like Joe Flacco's did back in the day. It's a lot of money right now, but in 10 years, we're gonna be like, okay, that's it's better. However, I wouldn't pay him that. He's not worth it. He's not played enough games. He's played 35 games.
Now, with the situation with the whole Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson, they both crapped to bed after being traded. Like, they didn't come out and look anything like themselves after that money. So this is where I see the owners saying, no, we're not going to pay you anything close to that, because they just saw 2 QBs who played well before the money now look like crap after the money. So why would they go and do that? It makes no sense.
Again, when the owners write these contracts, though, when the owners sign off on these contracts and the owners sign off on this CBA, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So everything helps them. It's to their benefit. So paying Deshaun Watson that kind of money in some way, shape, or form is helping the Browns owner. How? I don't know, but they're not afraid to spend this money. Maybe they're pushing for no cap, where the owners can say, now I can blow money. Which we might be angling that way to no more cap, or a soft cap like the NBA. I forgot how theirs works, luxury tax and all that stuff.
Yep.
So who knows? I don't think it'd ever be like the NBA, but they're pushing to something else.
So does Bret feel better after getting those gears ungrinded?
Yes. Okay. Although I think this is just the tip of the iceberg, because players are starting to speak out.
I definitely agree.
I talked to another NFL player recently a little bit about it, and it was pretty much just he didn't want to get any specifics. It's just like I understand where he's coming from. It happens more than people realize.
So yeah, with veterans, I mean, when it first started, when soldiers getting out from Iraq and Afghanistan, it wasn't just like ibuprofen you were getting from the VA, and they were handing out full on hydrocodone, any kind of narcotics, saying. So all these soldiers were getting addicted, and it was hard for them to try and keep up with financials and also keep up with that because they wanted more, so they'd go get them on the street. Because the VA would only give out so much, and they'd say, no, you're at your limit. You can't do that. So the VA would get you addicted. We understand what NFL players are going through on that side of it with painkillers and stuff like that because they used to hand out that stuff like M&Ms.
Or just like medical, like not, I don't know about malpractice, but like the half-ass way of treating you when I had damage to my wrist as a mechanic and they sent me to a doctor. So I called the doctor to make that appointment. The doctor's like, oh, we're a podiatrist, a foot doctor. I had damage to my wrist and hands. Like, and then I go to collect disability when I got out, and it was like, well, that's the limit. So that's not something that's degenerative. So there's no proof that it happened in your military career. It just happens through life. And then the one doctor when I was in the military was like, well, maybe it's from how you sleep. I literally turned wrenches. I hurt my hand trying to take a frozen line that's negative 200.
It's in your job description.
Yeah,
like
negative 297 degrees is frozen. The hose. I'm trying to like take it off there. My hand locked up, and then I end up feeling a real bad pop in my hand, in my wrist, and they diagnosed me with like overflexation, and he kept saying it's how I slept. I'm like, it's not how I slept, man. It's from what I do for a living. I'm just trying to get fixed. I'm not asking for anything. Just fix myself. Like, give me what I need. And it was just like pulling teeth. So
broken old men, folks. So this is what we're talking about.
That's the shit like we dealt with, and so I completely understand that. Where it's like, here's some pills and shut up about your injury and go on. It's nothing's torn. You're just strained, and then you go get a second opinion, which is why I'm glad some of these players say, I'm going to go ahead and do a private doctor to get a second opinion, because so high profile guys, they don't have as many of these problems that they speak of. Like some of these high profile guys. Teams are like, we'll take care of you. You go ahead somewhere. We're going to send you to the best professionals. You notice they said that, like DeMar Hamlin went to a really good facility because of what happened. And then Tua, like the owner's like, oh yeah, we're going to make sure you get the best doctors there is. So all of a sudden, like your high profile guys, your team get the best, and the rest are kind of like, you get what you get. That's it. You should. Everybody in your team should get like the best medical advice. Period.
Well, you know what? Enough bad news, enough black cloud over the show. How about some good news? That, like I said, the NFL Combine started today. The defensive linemen, the inside linebackers, the edge guys all did their 40s. They did their workout in the tight pajamas.
Now, underwear Olympics. Oh,
this isn't all. Hey, I get excited too, but I just try to contain it. I take this with a grain of salt. We get to see some raw athleticism of what these guys have, but at the same time.
You're welcome, Josh.
Let me get to it, damn it. I was so impressed with him. I mean, he jumped up. I believe he's up to like 253 pounds now. Folks, he ran a 4.39, had a 10-foot, 8-inch broad jump for an edge. Like that, that's insane speed. But then Beal, his counterpart, ran a 4.49. No wonder people couldn't get the ball off when Georgia faced them. They had the two fastest edge guys coming at you in the entire country on one defensive front. So Nolan Smith, to me, was a guy that flirted with a second rounder. He's first round now. Like with that performance, I feel like GMs are going to go mid to late first all day long.
You remember Manny Lawson back in the day? Mario Williams draft?
I do.
Mario Williams teammate. Freak. Ran fast, didn't have a great NFL career, but he got everybody's attention and jumped his stock up. Who was the other one? Bud Dupree. It was the same year as George Conley. When George Conley came out of Georgia as a wide receiver, put up some freakish numbers. Really didn't translate, but Bud Dupree, with his height, weight, actually put up better numbers when you considered it. But I just we need one bad in Miami. But it's hard to get excited about it. But Nolan Smith is a freak of nature. Georgia loves their athletic freaks. I mean, we've seen this before with guys, but I mean, there's no way a guy that big should be running that fast. So he should have your attention. And I like what Dan Campbell said. This is the time when you get to know the players. They got to show it on tape. That's how you evaluate them. But this is a chance for them to kind of, if you didn't see them on tape, or if you weren't like GMs really haven't looked at them on tape or yet, and then they see that athleticism, it's their chance to go, hold up now, who's that kid? That kid's burning it up. Or this kid's athletic, this kid's getting attention. And then it kind of shows the work ethic too. But mainly it's when they want to talk to these kids and see how they handle, a stressful situation and all that stuff. And people don't think, oh, that's rough on the kids. Well, look, it's a stressful environment. Like, I don't want to hear any crying that, oh, you're there for 17, 18 hours. Dude, we got off a bus, got off up all day at the airport waiting, take us off a bus, take us there, throw us in a room, or get all of our stuff, get all checked in all day long. And then someone's screaming at us. We go there, we pick out a locker, throw our shit in the locker. We sit in the room with a bunch of us sweaty guys just sitting there in our underwear and our shirts like,
yep.
The hell, man. I haven't even showered in like 24 hours.
2 days straight, I didn't sleep when I first got off the bus for basic training. 2 days straight, I finally got sleep at 49 hours after, and I was dead. Like, I literally didn't have a heartbeat, I think.
They're there for 2 days and they go home, or back to training. So it's like, it's a stressful environment. But if you break down in that stressful environment, and I think it was, who was it that did that? Who was a linebacker? Foster did that. And he got mad at the doctors and all that stuff, and they kicked him out because the stress got him, and that should be a red flag. So that's what Dan Campbell means. Like, this is a chance to get to know these guys and how they handle these situations.
It's that whole mini thing like they do in basic training. They kind of mentally want to break you down and see if they can build you back up real quick to get you for the workouts.
They mentally broke me down, and I never recovered.
He still tries to sleep to this day, folks. He calls me and he just whines.
My wife yells at me if I go have flashbacks.
Natasha's like, Dave, please come get him. He's acting up again.
He's crying again.
All right. Well, you know what? We're going to switch to, another edge. Will Anderson. Dude, the stats are eerily similar to Khalil Mack. Like, what he has, how he's built.
That's interesting. You say Khalil Mack, dude. Like, he's that guy that before the draft, before the combine, you're like, this guy's, you just knew he was going to be a stud in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I think that's Will Anderson. I think we just know he's just built for the NFL.
Him and Carter are the blue chippers all day long.
Yeah. And I feel bad for Carter with what's going on with him.
We'll dive into that in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Will Anderson, I feel like it doesn't matter what team takes a QB, that first defensive player off the board. If it's not Will Anderson, the GM should be fired.
Yeah,
now, I love Carter because the inside defensive lineman is harder to find to be an all-pro premier position than an edge guy, because edge guys are seen to come out more and cycle more than top off inside defensive linemen do. But with Carter's situation we're about to discuss here in a couple minutes, that's a whole new ball game.
But with
go ahead.
Who affects the quarterback the most?
It's inside pass rush.
Corner and pass rushers. So, like, can you rush the passer, and can you do it at a high level from the interior? If you're an interior defensive lineman, can you do it at a high level? Hence why Aaron Donald was such a hot prospect, right? Because he could rush you from, and look, he's paid dividends. So if you can rush the quarterback, doesn't matter if it's edge, D-line, doesn't matter. Can you rush a quarterback, and can you cover? And if you're a middle linebacker that can do both of those things, you'll go high too. So that's how you should look at it for impact players, especially for defense. Yeah. And that's why Will Anderson and Jalen Carter should very well be looked at the top, which is why you see so many pass rushers go at the top of the draft.
Now, inside defensive lineman, Kalijah Kancey. Holy crap. 4'6", 40 at 280 pounds. That's moving.
And shout out to John Vogel.
Dude moving. Johnny boy.
Who called him out as a future prospect to watch that will blow it up in this time of year. He said that back in June.
Foreshadowing, wink, wink. Next week, John Vogel is coming on.
Want to drop that little nugget. But yeah, he called it. He called it. He wasn't surprised at all. And there's a lot of guys who already knew about this kid, and he turned some heads. Dana Jeremiah had him compared to somebody. I don't remember who.
Kalijah Kancey is a guy that's just built up front. Like, there's a ton of inside defensive linemen that had a good combine today. And again, it's the Underwear Olympics. You got Kancey who had the 4.67, but Brian Bresee at almost 300 pounds at a 4.86 40. Like, that's a quick first step. He's moving. Zach Pickens out of South Carolina, 4.89. Gervin Dexter out of Florida had a 4.88. But Keanu Benton is another one you want to watch out of Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. This guy's strength off the line doesn't even need a quick first step. His strength.
Oh, he's like country boy strong. Yep. So he is somebody I did get to watch a little bit of, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy's violent. He's mean.
Yeah, like he reminds me of, like, remember how mean Gilbert Brown used to be off the snap? He used to take people with one hand and go
and just rip them. Yep.
That is exactly what I see in Keanu Benton. Not saying he's going to be the grave digger, but it reminds me a lot of what his pass rush moves and inside moves he has to stop the run. He's one of those guys that never really got mentioned in Wisconsin when he played, but now he's emerged himself in the Senior Bowl and the draft and the combine.
You typically don't hear those kind of guys on the interior, but I mean, he's built so well, and you could just look at him and tell he's one of those heavy-handed defensive linemen. And heavy-handed defensive linemen are the kind of guys I covet, that I like to watch. I like to have on defense because they get off blocks well, they shed blocks well. You know, they're just violent. They get pushed. They create
Fletcher
issues.
Cox, one of the meanest hands in the game.
Love it. I love it. Talk about heavy-handed there. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's these guys that just get off blocks. They throw defenders around. The Jets have actually done a pretty good job of finding guys like that. They've actually done a fantastic, and so have the 49ers. They actually have done if you look at the Jets defensive line, they have guys like that. And Benton's one of these guys that fits that profile.
Now, there is one more that's I don't think is going to get in the first round, but I mean, the way I don't know, the way he was, I think his name is Adebore. The guy, his athletics were crazy today. Like, I just had him up on my screen real quick. Let me go ahead and look. Yeah, Aditi Adebore was flying today, and I believe he had a 5.13 40, but he's over 300 pounds. His splits were good. He's a guy that was supposed to go in like that fifth round area. He earned himself with his workouts up to a second, third grade. Like, if you're going to look for a defensive lineman in this draft, that's not Jalen Carter or not any of these guys we mentioned before, Kalisha Cansey, it's going to be second, third round. That's your meat sandwich for your defensive lineman inside right there.
No, I agree. These numbers, if you're looking at these 40 times, the 40 times are not everything, but these guys are moving. These edge rushers are
Moro Jomo. That's another one that was moving for a big guy out of Texas. I loved his tape against Bama earlier this year.
Well, you know what's crazy? You look at a guy like Noah Sewell, who I like, but he's just a thumper downhill linebacker, which I don't think people are high enough on. And you say, 4.62, that's a good time for him. Or 4.64, that's a good time for him. Henry To'oTo'o from Alabama, another 4.62, good time for him. But then you look at some of these edge rushers in the 4.5s, it is insane. DeMarvion Overshown, 4.56. That's what you would kind of expect him to run as a fast linebacker. A Fernie Orji from Vanderbilt, a guy I like running the 4.53. He has really good recovery speed.
Yasir Abdullah out of Louisville. 4.47, a name to watch that a lot of guys were talking about going into this, and he put up some numbers.
He's like that Yannick Ngakoue kind of guy, just the hybrid kind of linebacker, the kind of guy that like defenses love to have. You saw Seattle had a guy like him and Bruce Irvin, and that like the guy who's a tweener but a right defensive system. They know how to use him because they're not telling him, oh, you're a defensive end, you're a 3-4 edge. No, it's going to be we're going to use you. I think they called it the elephant role. Excuse me. Yeah. So
I believe they did. That's what they had Julius Peppers at in Green Bay. They had him opposite of Clay Matthews.
Talk about a freak. But Byron Young out of Tennessee is another one who's really athletic. Another guy I like a lot. He came in at 6'2", 250. So he's a little bit more. He's probably going to stand up a lot more. Although you did have Elvis Dumerville and Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis. Those were guys but they were really, really explosive. I don't know that he fits that.
Diane Henley's another one where he can drop into coverage. He's able to do it. Oh my God! He can run with running backs, tight ends, wide receivers. That's Bobby's guy. He loves Diane Henley.
Another guy I like. This is a guy I would draft on day 3, maybe later day 2. It's DJ Johnson at Oregon, 6'4", 260. I would probably look at him later on in the draft because I think he has some potential. He's an athlete. I mean, he ran a 4.49, but I think there's he's a project. He's somebody I think that I can at least maybe bring in as a situational pass rusher, maybe a special teamer at worst. But I think he's a guy you can develop into something.
Yeah, definitely. And another guy that people feel like he didn't get a good 40 time, but they got to realize how big he is. Dude, Jack Campbell, 6'5", 250 pounds. He ran a 4.65. Like, I'm sorry. And then he had a broad jump of 10 foot 8 inches, the same as Nolan Smith.
If I took Jack Campbell and I switched his position to linebacker or to edge rusher, everybody go, oh, that's a pretty good time, 4.65. That's really good.
Make him a Sam too, with an edge rusher that's able to drop in coverage a little bit. That's Sam role.
He is a kind of guy that you can move all over. 4.3, 3.4 doesn't matter. Oh man, I had a good comparison for him, and I can't remember what it was. One of them that I kind of thought about for him, in a sense, and I think you'll follow me on this, is kind of like a Clay Matthews. Because when Clay Matthews came out of USC, he wasn't a 3-4 outside linebacker. He wasn't a defensive end. No one ever thought about putting his hand in the dirt.
No one knew what to do. That's why he was so hard to draft.
Right. Yeah. And he was a guy like, what do we do with him? I think it's kind of like that, because I think if you put Clay Matthews just as a middle linebacker to 3-4, stand up outside linebacker to 4-3, whatever you wanted to do, I think you could do with Clay Matthews. I think he was just that kind of guy. I think he was just that kind of freak of nature. And I think Jack Campbell, while not quite as athletic or as explosive, I think Jack Campbell is a guy that you can move around in your defense and make some plays and make a difference.
Yeah.
I do not want him to go to Bill Belichick, because Jack Campbell kind of reminds me of a Kyle Van Noy in a sense. That was the other comparison I had. He was like a Kyle Van Noy kind of linebacker.
Oh, he'd be perfect in Billy's defense.
Or a Lawrence Timmons, a guy who's like a defensive end linebacker tweener, but is better as a guy that never got enough credit.
Lawrence Timmons was so good.
He was an edge rusher at Florida State. And so Jack Campbell is kind of that mold. I'm like, if he ends up with Bill Belichick, I'm going to hate my life. And Bill Belichick has a really good relationship with Kirk Ferentz in Iowa, because he used to coach with Belichick. So, like, I don't want it. No.
Another guy I never really listed as defensive lineman or an edge, because it's like he's a mix, is Lucas Van Ness. They called him Hercules out of Iowa. The guy didn't start, but he put up really damn good numbers as a rotational guy. Mm-hmm. And his numbers he had in the combine today, like, I couldn't believe just how quick he was moving, and the fact he was able to get around the 3-cone and his splits, like that just – it amazed me with a guy his size. And you know what his comp reminds me of?
Who's that?
Justin Smith.
Yeah.
Big guy inside, can swap to the outside if he needs to on stunts and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would definitely, for him, I would probably move him outside more. I think his role, I think he can play inside a little bit when needed, but I think he's going to be a guy that you're going to use all over. I think he could play the 5 technique. I think he could play head up inside, wherever you want him to play. I think he can offer a role, but I think he's versatile and strong enough. On tape, you don't see quite as much of that movement, but you do see he's strong at the point of attack. Yeah. And he's not going to be the guy that you're going to line up as an edge rusher and get, 20 sacks with. Maybe not. Maybe you do. You can never say, because I don't think people expected JJ Watt to be as dominant as he was when he was drafted. But you see a guy who can play defensive end inside. You can move him around a little bit. And to me, some of my favorite defensive ends are the bigger ones that can collapse a line of scrimmage, that can set the edge, that can get after the quarterback. So he kind of fits that mold, and I think he's going to be better. I think a lot of teams are going to look at the move, kick him out a little bit more. Yeah. Almost like a Chris Jones in a sense for the Chiefs. He can play outside. He can play inside. You can kind of move him around a little bit. Seattle had guys like that, like a Michael Bennett. Big defensive end, but could rush the passer really well. Better athlete than people realized, but he also could line up inside when needed. He's that kind of guy, in my opinion.
I agree. One guy I did like watching today was your guy at Ohio State, Mr. Zach Harrison.
Love Zach Harrison.
274. He's just mean. Like, Zach Harrison, my comp, and I know I'm homering this with this, but he reminds me of Preston Smith. He's so long. I can
see that.
He's a solid edge defender. Like, he doesn't let the running backs get to the outside, the inside. He perfectly traps him where he needs to go. I feel like at 6'5", 270, I feel like that's Green Bay's mold for an edge defender anyway.
That's
what Edegbari is. That's what Gary is. That's what Preston is.
So well coached. So we talk about, you and I have talked about it too, with Brian Hartline, how he does such a great job with Ohio State's receivers. Well, their defensive line coach does a great job with their
edge guys have been pretty solid.
Yeah, and they're well coached. They recruit them well. But when you watch the Bosa brothers there, and you watch
Chase Young,
yep. When you watch Young there, now you watch Harrison. These guys are well coached. They do their job, and they know how to penetrate 3 yards deep. Don't over pursue. Don't under pursue. You know, they understand what their assignment is, whether to push somebody wide, push somebody in, where their help is, which is huge for a defensive end to know, hey, I got a linebacker coming off my outside shoulder. I got my linebacker coming off the inside shoulder. I know where my help is. I know where I need to push this running back. I know where I need to push things. I know where if I take this away, the quarterback's got to go a different direction. And that's huge. A lot of people don't realize that the defensive end, even on play actions and everything, or even passing concepts, defensive end doesn't always just rush them.
Contain.
Yep. Sometimes they have to, hey, there's a guy slipping that backfield. I need to get in his route and be able to kind of disrupt that and get my hands up. So I like Zach Harrison a lot, and that's not a homerism in me at all. And I like that comparison with Preston Smith, because I was a big Preston Smith guy coming out. I really liked him as a prospect out of Mississippi State. And, man, they had a run for a while with some prospects, but I love Harrison Smith. He doesn't get the recognition that some of these other big names did from Ohio State.
No, man, God, no.
But, man, he's going to be a good football player in the NFL, I think.
He's not a flashy stat guy. He is a guy that will, if you look on the paper, you're like, he had how many pressures? He had how many tackles for losses? Like, he's that guy. And that's what Preston Smith is. He's not a guy where you're going to see Nick Bosa and get 18 sacks. It's just not going to happen. No. But for 11, 12 sacks, yes. He's going to be that guy that breaks the double digits, gets the edge to be able to hold the run game and the mobile QBs in check on the bootlegs, stuff like that. But you know what? There's so much more combine to come. I know today was really the first touch on it with the linebackers, the edges, and the defensive linemen. And it was so fun to get that breath of fresh air, watching that again, the Underwear Olympics. I feel like they need to change some events, though, because to model more today NFL athletes rather than the old arm back and the sprint for the 40. I'm like, this isn't USA track running. What are we doing here?
Yeah, right.
Get them in pads and run 40 yards. I guarantee you're going to see more accurate time then. But do you have any final thoughts before we jump off?
I'll say one thing, and it goes with the combine and free agency and trades. This is where owners and GMs start talking. This is where they start discussing things. So now situations with trades, this is where the bugs are dropped. This is where the nuggets are dropped. This is where the agents start talking to the owners and GMs, and this is where the tampering technically happens. And yeah. So this is when things are going to start happening, and we'll start seeing pieces falling into place. And every day you're going to start seeing more and more rumors dropping. This was just the beginning. You're going to start seeing more of it.
Oh, yeah. When we have on John Vogel next week, he's at the combine right now, folks. He leaves tomorrow. He's in the National Guard, and he's a fellow veteran just like us. So we're having him on because of that, and also just what he's seeing at the combine in person. And it's different when what we see on a TV. What is he seeing at the podium with these guys answering answers? What is he seeing with players on the 40-yard dash and these drills coming back with the split runs and everything? So it's just it's a different perspective added in. He's got such a great respect and what he does. And I always love his work. But my closing thoughts real quick, kind of piggybacking what Bret said. The whole Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this is when you're going to start seeing NFL news start a little bit. This is before the whole, Panthers asked about Aaron Rodgers. Miami asked about Lamar and is monitoring him. Just stuff like that. These 32 GMs this is like one of 3 times for the whole year they're in the same spot.
Yep.
And that's a rare occasion besides the owner meetings and stuff like that.
A lot of times Senior Bowl too, for the most part. But
most of them go to the Senior Bowl. Sometimes they'll send like an executive scout and stuff like that. But I know you know that because you've been there. I'm just saying that's what I've heard people went kind of like Bret. But it's the whole fact of this is the time to do it. And hey, I'm saying as a Packers fan, I love you, Aaron, but you got to go.
Peace.
It's time for the love era.
And Nugget, real quick. Math bomb. Kent Lee Platt, who is an amazing follow.
Great Raz guy. Oh.
Yeah, love it. Relative athletic score. Jack Campbell. So this puts things in perspective. Currently 9.98 Raz. It's projected.
That's top 10 all time.
Like so far. That's so far because it's projected right now with his splits. So this is just as of right now. And I don't expect it to plummet anywhere at all. So
no.
I just wanted to also plug Kent because he's a phenomenal guy. Also another veteran, I believe a Navy guy. Great dude, though. I've had conversations with him. I'd love to get him on the show after the combine at some point to talk about his relative.
I gotta listen to his Lions.
But hey, man, that guy is so intelligent with his math scores and all, with everything. I love it. So, and if you have a question for him, you can ask him, how does that stack up compared to a random player, or how does it stack up over the course of so many years? And you can pick up a trend with that. A great guy, great follow, but that was just a perfect nugget since we were just talking about Jack Campbell and his 40 time. So
it just shows how good he is. But thank you, Bret, for coming on with me and doing this every week, man. Just
love it.
Football. Watching you just grit that sour beer in your mouth. And
love it. More goose.
I need to get a new keg and my kegerator is tapped. I ran out.
Delaware has so many breweries.
You can have your breweries. I'm good with going to get like a keg of my Canadian beer, my Molson Light, for a shout out to Evan. Here, eh? I haven't seen him type since the beginning of the show. Where did he go?
What the hell? We lost our resident troll. Evan, where are you?
Is he back under his bridge?
He's mad.
We talked too much bad about two in the beginning. We ran him away.
I knew not to do that. We scared him away.
All right, folks. Thank you for joining us. Hit the like and subscribe button.
Yes.
For Vince Talk Sports Network, for Huddle Up and Wait. We got so many more shows on here. Wrestling. You've got Draft Talk tomorrow with Dolphins Draft Talk and On the Clock. Mm-hmm. There's so much more. There's the Heat Show with Alex. Yeah. Go watch it, folks.
They can't have Embiid.
No. Hold on.
We're not trading Embiid, Alex.
They can't say nothing. Listen, we're both Sixers fans. Bret and I are both Sixers fans. And I'm going to say it right now. We didn't even play Embiid last night, and we stomped y'all by 20. Get off on.
Now close it out right.
Bobby just trolled us.
Wow. He said close it out right. Boo the Heat. Boo. The process, baby. Anyways, like and subscribe. We loved having you folks. Thank you for watching. Thank you guys for in the chat for all the questions. We were trying to get to them as much as possible. There was just so much going on today.
Yes, sir.
But we'll be back next week. 8 p.m. with Mr. John Vogel. We're from NFL Draft Blitz. We have your 6. See you later.